Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. What's up, everybody? Big Hurt, fresh out, life after the penitentiary. You're tuning in for another edition of Prison Talk. I want to say thank you to everybody who subscribed to our channel, and make sure that you don't just watch the video, that you actually subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all the latest videos, and also support our Twitter, our Instagram, and our SoundCloud, which is FreshOutSeries, by just subscribing to the channels. Anyways, had another question from one of our viewers, and they were asking who thrives in prison. Well, believe it or not, the people that thrive in prison are a lot of times the people that were using drugs on the street. You know, you get these people who were basically dope fiends on the street that were involved in, using drugs and living, from house to house, or not really living the normal life. When they get to prison and they get healthy, these people basically acclimate to prison a lot better than the guy who was living in the mansion, who was balling, who was doing big things on the street. Not to say that this guy won't survive in prison because he had these nice things, but this guy's significantly downsizing from his normal lifestyle. But the person who was a dope fiend on the street, who was, shooting dope, smoking dope, stealing, lying, just doing what he had to survive, in prison, this is his natural environment. They got 3 meals a day now, so they're healthy. They have a place to stay at consistently every night, roof over their head. They don't have to worry about any bills. This individual basically becomes a predator in prison. Not to say that they're gonna go around trying to take your cheeks, but what I mean is a lot of these people go on to become shot callers in prison. They're still using drugs, but they can use these drugs now and somewhat control, the drug trade, because that's what they're involved in on the lowest level. And drugs in prison, a lot of time it's the grimy motherfuckers who are in the mix the most, because they don't give a fuck about catching time for getting caught for selling drugs or for smashing somebody for not paying for the drugs that they shared with them or that they sold them. So, dope fiends, they really have a lot of pull in prison. I've seen a lot of shot callers, guys who were, putting the smack down in prison, doing drugs. I've seen a guy smoking crack right inside the holding tank. I don't know where he got the crack from, but he pulled it out of somewhere, and he had some foil, and he had a match, and he smoked that shit right up in the holding tank, man. And this motherfucker was considered an OG. He was a shot caller for one of the cliques up in prison, and he was a crackhead. So, to you drug dealers out there, or people who were, hustling dope, watch out as far as a lot of these dope fiends, how you treat them on the street, because they get in prison, this same motherfucker might be calling shots for the group of people that you run with, and it's a straight role reversal, because like I said, a lot of these guys, in prison, they can shine, and you think that, they got their clothes ironed, they got some fresh shoes off a commissary, they're, walking around with a group of people that listen to them, so they feel very important. But like these same individuals on the street, man, they couldn't save enough money to buy toilet paper to wipe their ass because they're too busy trying to get high. So yeah, the dope fiends in prison, man, it's a totally different animal, and they will split your wig over some drugs. So for, you guys thinking you're gonna, go in there and hustle and try to make your little bit of money, or, just dabble in the game to support yourself, hey man, don't think twice before you get involved in that shit, because like I said, these dope fiends, these guys who are calling shots, these guys who were damn near dead on the street from just doing so much drugs, teeth rotting out, they get to prison, they get that dental service, they get them 3 square meals, and they start getting on some beast mode shit in prison, and they will bust your head over some drugs. So that's what's up with dope fiends in prison.